Okay, at 6 p.m. we'll call the meeting to order. Please call the roll, Ms. Sisso.
Ex officio Marthouse.
Here.
Director Tozan.
Here.
Director Ramirez. Director Nutting.
Here.
Director LaFontaine.
Here.
Director James.
Here.
Director Blackwood.
Here.
Secretary Sislo here. Treasurer Becker.
Here.
Vice President Gillen.
Here.
President Knobloch.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, we have the approval of minutes from November 21st meeting. Ms.
And,
Sislo?
Mr. President, as you can see, the minutes were approved by email vote that was completed on 11/29/22.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, does anyone need to amend the meeting agenda? Hearing no one needing to amend it, can we make a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes the motion. We need a second.
I'll second that.
Pick out somebody. Multiple ones. Any discussion of that? Okay, all in favor, just raise your right hand, please. Okay, that was unanimous. Next, we have the President's report. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the rate of inflation between 2018 and December of 2022 has been about 4.3% per year, which means that there's been a cumulative price increase of about 18.62% since 2018. I mention that because that's the last time the POA annual dues have been increased. We are not increasing them again this year in 2023. If you pay your annual dues in $646 in full before the end of January, you will receive a $40 credit on your account, which results in a net payment of $606. If you divide $606 per year by 365 days in a year, that equals about $1.67 a day. If you pay your dues on a monthly basis at $646, divide that by 365 days, it comes out to be about $1.77 per day. From my point of view, at least, both of these examples show a great deal for all the amenities we have here, especially when you consider that the Hancock County assessor always says publicly all of our property values here have a positive effect because of the amenities. Even if you have absolutely no interest in golf, we recently hosted the Gulf States Professional Golf Association, that's a PGA, annual meeting in Diamond Head. We had over 140 teaching professionals here, and they even played a small tournament on the Cardinal course. All of the participants were impressed with our entire community, what it has to offer, and this is actually a, quote, a feather in Diamond Head's cap, because this group had never met in Diamond Head in the last 50 years, or had ever met in Diamond Head, okay? And these are the people who sometimes make recommendations to their local players on where to go play if they're going to go somewhere else. So it's good for us overall. As you probably know, the POA is implementing our one computer system to handle all of the activities for the POA. The old system was completely archaic. According to, if you talk to computer experts, and they always say, transition from one system to another never works perfectly, and it takes a while to make everything mesh seamlessly. We were not immune to that. Some people have suggested that the new program is, and I'm quoting, a piece of junk, unquote. This particular program is used by some of the largest HOAs and POAs in the United States and Canada. I'll just give you four. There's bunches of them, but four you may or may not have heard of before. Sun City in Arizona is an unincorporated area that uses this with a population of about 39,000. Desert Mountain Resort is in Arizona, which is another one. It's about 13,000. Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, not Hot Springs itself, Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, if you've ever been there. It's got 7 or 8 golf courses, 8 or 9 restaurants. It's huge, okay? They have about 13,000 people there. Buena Vista, Arkansas, which is a shoot-off or whatever you want to call it from Hot Springs Village, Arkansas, because it's the same company, Cooper Communities, who built that. It's in the northern part of Arkansas. They have about 22,000 people in that one. So it does work. There are tech people working on the situation on a daily basis. Many parts of the program are working almost perfectly, but some areas, especially in the food and beverage sections, are still being worked on, and hopefully we can get this solved shortly. I did have a contact from an irate resident, complaining about the fact that the board had implemented an $800 fee to rent the ballrooms. I politely told her that the board had not voted to implement anything, and I hadn't heard that at all. Well, she kept insisting that she knew because she was correct and I was wrong. So, trying to be politically correct, there wasn't anything else I could say, except I did tell her this is just something we have to agree to disagree on, because there's nothing else you can say to that. Now, I'll ask one question. Anybody up here ever voted to raise the fee to rent the ballroom by $800?
No.
Thank you. Okay, next we have the committee reports. Start down at Mr. James.
Yes, the Golf and Grounds Committee met on December the 8th at the Golf Academy. The Green Superintendent discussed what they had been doing, mainly cleaning up debris, mulching leaves, adding sand to numerous bunkers, and investigating a leak on the irrigation pump on the Cardinal. So, as you mentioned, the club hosted the PGA Annual Awards Dinner with many positive comments. The 12 days of Christmas in the Pro Shop ended the 17th of December, and all credit has to be used by 26th of December. Golf membership for 2023 is progressing ahead of previous years, and the GEN system will be discontinued 31 December until new memberships are paid. The discussion of the scoreboard advertising sponsorship and the way forward would be based on a calendar year or part thereof. And then last, at the Golf Academy, Hoppy Smith gave a detailed presentation at the Golf Academy of what he and other teachers do, with a demonstration of the equipment and tools they have available. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Becker?
I defer to the committee chairman.
Okay, Mr. Gillen?
The Marina Airport Committee they're supposed to have their meeting this past Wednesday, and we had to cancel because of the weather. A couple of things that you'll be seeing coming from us. One of them is we're going to have to replace the point-of-sale equipment at the airport. This is probably going to be in the range of $20,000. That's the bids we've gotten. We're working on trying to get it cheaper, but I don't think we're going to get it much cheaper than that. Why does it have to be replaced? It's so antiquated you can't buy parts for it anymore. 2 years ago it almost died, and Adam was able to find some used parts that he bought and got it going. It also has a chip in it that cannot be replaced. So every time there's a sale, the sale goes to the POA, and then the people that are now renting the hangar have to come in at the end of the month, and we have to do a reconciliation. So that's one of the things. If you need any last-minute gifts, Diane has some shirts, nice shirts and ball caps. So for those last-minute gifts, go down to the marina and see Diane.
Thank you. The Futures Committee has not met because everything is going so slow in the court system that nothing is happening almost. So the court cases are moving, but really, really, really slow. So there's nothing for us to do at this point. Ms. Sislo?
The rec committee is taking a little hiatus while we get ourselves organized.
Okay, Mr. Marthouse? Okay, Mr. Tozan?
Yes, the House Committee met December the 1st. Our roundtable discussion raised the concern about the place settings for special events. Chris recognized the concern and is committed to take a review of that or make a review of that. We discussed the concerns of the continuing practices of individuals driving against the arrows in the circle out front. All we can do is continue to emphasize to people to follow the arrows and to drive slow in that circle. We just had that all repainted, so it should be clear to individuals. We reviewed the House financials for the month of October. It continues to be a favorable trend. We are continuing to work to reduce or eliminate the drain on the POA membership. We discussed the need for trash cans in our last meeting. Chris brought back bids for new cans. The need for new cans was to replace the ones that are out front that are pretty well beat up. They're too small and they fill to overflow too often. He brought the recommendations, we reviewed them, and we'll be voting on that tonight. Chris stated the recommendations for the facility committee walkthrough in the front end of the carpet. It was the need to steam the front end carpet. The carpet will be steam cleaned and then assessed after that cleaning. Chris discussed the approach of the new BEO contracts is to include the 15% discount for all members for the cost of food and beverages. We discussed new menus for the Oak Room and the Latitude 30. There will be a slight increase effective the first of the year, and that is to help offset the increase in cost in kitchen supplies. We discussed a plan to discontinue bingo for a short period of time through the holidays and give Chris a chance to assess its continuing popularity. One of the items pointed out in the facilities committees was to address the amount of clutter behind the stage because of overcrowded storage. In addition, it was noted the barn storage areas are also cluttered and overcrowded. Greg floated the idea of perhaps building an additional storage building. He has accepted the task of preparing a proposal for the location and cost and design and bring it to our next meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for January the 5th at 3:30.
Okay, Dr. Nutting?
Nothing here.
Mr. Blackwood?
Nothing to report.
Mr. LaFontaine?
The Safety Committee, with the assistance of Mrs. Andrea Jones, is still looking into the process to researching our options for a consultant to come in and review our safety procedures and our OSHA compliance. And once we gather up the information, we'll schedule our next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Abney, General Manager's report.
Good evening, everyone. First off, I'd like to wish all of you Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you and your families. In your packets this evening are the typical reports that we provide and submit. November fared out to be a favorable month as it relates to the net in comparison to the budget, with a positive variance of $10,000, a little over $10,000 for the month. And year to date, favorable compared to budget, $291. So through November, we're in good shape. A little concerned about what happens in the month of December for obvious reasons as it relates to our transition and the impact that it's having on business. The next page is the goals and focus areas. This typically ties to some capital expenditure items and or housekeeping related matters. The next page, I'm running through this fairly quickly just so we can get to the most important item on the list. Next page is our amenity use summary, which indicates rounds of golf played, tennis played, activity at the marina, as well as the RV storage. And one area that we're going to study a little bit is at the RV storage, combining the boat pen section with the RV storage and see if there's some additional square footage that we can gain from that and basically have them in the same compound. Diane has put together an extensive detailed report on the marina. And I think it's interesting to see the statistics as it relates to member launches, non-member launches, amount of fuel that she sells, days of the week. It's a detailed report, and we hope to take the concept and have others provide similar type information. The next page, which I'm on page E of your summary backup, is the food and beverage summary. And looking at November, it generated 239,926, which on the scale of 11 months out of 12, it ranked 5th highest in terms of revenue generation. It yields a average per day in the month of November, $7,900 compared to the January through November average daily of 7,500. So November was a good month, all in all. The next page is our collection summary, and year to date, the collections efforts have brought forth $266,000, which is time well spent, and it proves that it's a worthy cause, certainly a high priority. We're trying to get as much as we can in front of the court system, and I've expressed in the past a little concern about why we aren't a little more aggressive, but I respect the position of our attorney, Miles Sharp, as it relates to yielding to the preferences of the court system. So we can't force that, but we'll stay on it. Nancy Perkins has submitted a marketing report. Midway down the page, she says, I have a favor to ask of you and the board members. And it goes on to talk about clicking on Google, as well as Yelp and a couple other sites, TripAdvisor. So if any of you understand that language, she'd appreciate the help. A summary from the concierge department. This is simply to record the activity as to what's happening when people visit the concierge desk as it relates to the statistical data, number of photo IDs. There were 2,000 visits and photos taken during the month of November, and POA dues, which is to bring the accounts current, a little over 190,000 during the month of November. And we'll try and expand that report a little bit more. And the last item is what I refer to as the most important topic this evening. And that is to introduce and allow Mr. Andrew Sanders to approach the podium and give an update on TEI and the transition that we're undergoing. So Andrew, if you'd come up. And following Andrew's discussion, if you have questions, I'm happy to try and answer.
Well, I think the part everybody wants to know about is the kitchen. I think that's the big thing.
Is that on?
It should be. Can you hear me now? The adapters for our kitchen printers came in this morning. The work was done to install those adapters, and they are in the kitchen. AGJ has been configuring them to work with our network and on our terminals, and will continue to do so through after hours tonight. First thing in the morning, I'll be going in, testing them, making sure they are configured correctly, and then making sure they're working properly with TEI. I have a high degree of confidence that if we made the decision, we could go back to menu service as soon as Wednesday. My goal is to have, when Chris Rom comes in on Wednesday morning, say, hey, the kitchen can go if you want to go. Other areas of progress are being made, but that is the number one priority, to get the functioning kitchen. That way we can have the option of getting entertainment back. I don't see any reason why that couldn't be an option for us to consider Thursday evening. Definitely, there's a party Friday night. Other than that, once the kitchen is, working on all cylinders, Then we're going to move into getting more training for the staff with the tablets. The past few weeks have been rough, been very rough to say the least. But in the middle of all the uncertainty, there always, been some good things. We've had some rock stars really set a standard and step up and push through the difficulties. And I've learned a lot from them about how they operate and what their needs are as the F&B staff. And they've learned a lot about how the system works and why we're using it. The other departments, of course, just continuing to wrap up, making sure that the training and availability, like you said, this year we're not going to hand out the coupons. We're going to put credit on their account, very similar to what we do in the golf shop already. And so tomorrow will be the first training on being able to use that in food and beverage, basically your credit book, And so that'll be available. And it's the way the systems work now, it's available system-wide. Gift cards are gift cards. If you're in Diamond Head and you have a gift card, you can use it. Credit book's credit book, credit on the account. If you're in Diamond Head and you have credit on your account, you can use it. Little details that jump out, as they come up, we just tackle them. There's the order of importance, like what's the most important to the organization, and there's the order of which I can knock out an issue quickly. So somewhere in the middle there, we compromise and we make the progress that we can make. But I think it's been, glaringly apparent that the kitchen has to be the number one thing. Today we made a lot of progress. The printers are there. I fully expect to be done with my configuration tomorrow, but until Ricky and Chris can get in there and sit down with me and say, okay, let's do some mock orders, which we will be doing mock orders tomorrow. That's the only way, we can really know that I've got it 100%. But I have a high degree of confidence that we're there now with the printers. And I have 2 extras in case something goes wrong. Chef had asked for up to 5, 3 being the minimum. 1 that we want to put on the back line for banquets and benefits, banquets and weddings, stuff like that. But the 3 that they're used to and the 3 that they need to go and get the kitchen up are being configured as we speak.
Okay, I'll just go down the row. Mr. James, do you have any questions?
No, it's been a challenge, to say the least. I haven't been involved. It is disappointing where we are today, 12 months down the road after we start. It's, in my opinion, it's a black eye on us as a PA board and management that we got to this point where we had to shut a thriving club down on food and beverage and go to a system that's adequate but not the kind of service that we have had and should have to provide it. So,
Okay.
thank you.
Mr. Becker?
Andrew, so did I understand you correctly that we hope to have service in latitude 30 by Wednesday?
Yes.
That's the goal?
That's the goal. First thing first thing tomorrow morning, I'll be making sure that when Chris and Ricky walk in on Wednesday morning, because they're off on Monday, Tuesday, I think Ricky may be in tomorrow, but I don't know their schedules particularly, but I want them to be able to look at the printing receipts and say, okay, what do we got to do? Here it is. First thing Wednesday morning. Can we open up? And what's left that you need? If there's any slight changes, we started doing some printer testing Friday, and Ricky had some requests, and so I want to make sure that he's got, and the kitchen staff, really got to point out that they've been rock solid. They have really stepped up their game to make this difficult time, as best that they can. Really awesome food on those buffets. I know it's not what we want, but they really, stepped up and allowed us to survive while we get our act together. So.
Okay, Mr. Gillen?
Excuse me. In his report, the president's report, he talked a little bit about 3 or 4 places that have 2 to 3, 4 times the number of people that we have. What is so different about Diamond Head that we couldn't have taken one of their programs, plugged it in, and been up and running? Why is it taking so long?
Couple of reasons, but in organizations our size, and the largest ones too, the way this vendor has done business with their with all of their clients is they come into an organization and they find out what their needs are and they custom tailor it to their needs as much as they possibly can. And every place is different, and a lot of those larger organizations have a full-time IT staff, people that are that's their full-time job. They have an entire department. I've been fortunate enough to speak with the head of IT and the VP of IT at Desert Mountain, and the way they handle technology is totally different than the way we handle it here. I'd always say a lot of the responsibility lies with myself. Some mistakes that I made in the configuration, a couple of things that I did that hindsight's 20/20, and I guarantee you with my list of mistakes, things that I'd like to redo is longer than what you've seen and longer than the list that you have. But also, pushback, change is hard. Nobody wants to go through it. We've made there were a lot of efforts to no, let's not do it yet. No, let's wait till it's more convenient. And then at some point in time, we just had to call it and say we're going forward one way or another. And between the configuration and getting used to the way TEI does business, the pushback, and then any inadequacies I had dealing with those two, immovable object and the unstoppable forces, just a lot of things that went wrong. I think while the deadline was good motivation to force leaders to say, look, we've just got to go with it, we can't fight it anymore, it was also a constraint where I had a lot of opportunity to make mistakes. Scheduling with AGJ, our managed service provider, has been coordinating between them. I look back at some of the printer issues and I said, oh, I should have had this perspective months ago. I should have seen this coming, and I didn't. I have to take responsibility for that. But it's just it's a big machine, and the other ones, they don't plug and play because they're customized. The way they do business, they want custom software that's tailored to them. Plug and play software is what we've had in 6 departments, and in every one of those departments where they had their favorite plug and play. Golf had their favorite plug and play. F&B had their favorite plug and play. Even accounting, administration had their favorite plug and plays. But when you take the plug and play, none of those plug and plays will ever talk together. They will never talk to each other, and they're never going to plug and play with the accounting software. The benefits that we're seeing from this have been real and substantial, especially in administrating and accounting. In this report here, I don't have any of these departments listed as more than 90% completed. Not because they're not running, like a well-oiled machine. The marina's doing great, tennis is doing great, community center is doing great, golf shop is stepping up really hard and been doing wonderful. Same thing in the academy. But when this is, I don't want to use the word over, but when I say, okay, now we're 95, 99%, the last part about this is, okay, reporting, processes and procedures, and making sure everything's talking the way it should. Until that big picture comes in, I still think calling it 90% is fair. Not that there's a lot of work to be done in each of these departments, but thinking about the organization as a whole is something that we're not used to. A good example would be a misconfigured or a mistake made on a member's account in the admin building. Now we have the opportunity, well, when you go get your member card, we need to fix that mistake. If we don't, when that member goes and swipes their card at any other departments, their discounts don't work and they don't look like they're in good standing. And, taking shortcuts or saying, well, we'll just give it to them now is a lot different than going, you know what, let's contact member service. Let's walk this up to the concierge desk. And the awareness that our staff is having to become like, everything affects everything. Wait staff have never had to think about that some member numbers end with an A, B, or a C, or a -1, 2, or 3. What are these member numbers? What do they mean? So we're in a cultural shift where people are having to realize that they're not just working for a pro shop or a marina or a restaurant. You're working for a large, multifaceted organization, and the little details of things that, don't use the -1, use the, Andrea, she has an A behind her member number. I do not. What's the difference? Things like that. It's a change, and it's a learning curve. And, as much difficulty as there has been, there's also been some real stand-up people who've stepped it up, and I really just want to appreciate the staff that have.
Anything else?
Thank you.
I'm not interested in blaming anybody. I want the dang thing to work.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a great week to test it, because based on the weather this week, I can't imagine that we're gonna be full of people in there. So it's a good time to experiment in the next couple of days. Ms. Sislo?
I have no questions.
Mr. Marthouse?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for the report.
Mr. Tozan?
I think just about everything that needs to be said has been said in terms of looking backwards. Two things I want to get clear. The training for our staff will be with TEI people who know what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
And they will have the hardware in their hands for that training.
Yes.
And they will walk away from that training with an understanding of what needs to be done.
Yes.
Correct. Good. I know change is hard, but I am really reticent to blame the staff for anything in what's happened here.
Well,
The staff has
responsibility-
done a tremendous job dealing with some very, very hard situations and trying to work their way through it. I have nothing but good to say about the work that they've done. Change is one thing. Dumping something on somebody with improper training and improper hardware is not. That's not change. That's inappropriate.
Agreed.
Okay, Dr. Nutting?
Nothing really other than to thank Andrew for all his hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Blackwood.
Yeah, are we gonna be able to scan right at the tables and stuff on the cards and ascertain whether or not this persons are in good standing?
This week, I'm just focused on getting the kitchen, but as soon as the kitchen's up and running, we'll go back to using the tablets that we were using a couple weeks ago to determine whether you're a member of good standing. The terminals do have sliders on them. The handhelds, they can type in the number, and we'll know whether you're a member of good standing. I don't want to throw too much on the staff all at once. They are going through enough, but right now when the kitchen, there's nobody that's going to get the discount that's not supposed to. And they're getting used to it. I like the way the system works with that. Those tablets right now, they're touch screens and they're having to put them in. I'm trying to find improvements, but I'm going from get it working to get it driving down the road and then tune up the race car. So right now
But
it's
ultimately, we're going to be able to do that.
oh yeah, and when they go in, when they put your member account in now, the discounts are automated based on whether or not you're in good standing.
Thank you.
Mr. LaFontaine?
I had nothing further to add.
Okay, moving on, do we have any POA member comments on agenda items?
No, we don't.
Okay, next we move to the regular agenda. We have motion 2022-35. It's a motion to approve the funds to purchase 2 trash cans for the club entry not to exceed $2,500. Someone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Mr. Tozan makes a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. LaFontaine seconds it. Mr. Tozan?
Just the fact that we need to replace the 2 cans that we have up front. We've gone through 2 sets of cans in the past year. What we're using now doesn't hold up. They're too small. They overfill in the course of a day, and they're emptied every night. The cans that the committee selected are the cans that match the current furniture that we have, so it'll be in line with the appearance of that furniture that we're using. Pretty much that's all I've got to say. That's it.
Okay, Mr. LaFontaine, you seconded it, right?
I second
Yeah. You have anything? Anyone have any questions? Comments? Hearing no questions or comment, then we'll call the question. We have a motion to approve funds to purchase 2 trash cans for the club entry not to exceed $2,500. If you are for that, please raise your right hand. Okay, we have Mr. Did you put your hand up? Okay. I agree. Okay, so that passed. Yes. Do we have any POA member comments on non-agenda items?
We do not.
Okay. The next open board meeting will be on Monday, January the 16th at 6 p.m. in City Hall. Wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Mr.
One comment.
Okay.
Yep. My reference to the system was to the POA and management, not to the employees. I was not, I don't feel that any employee has not done everything they can. I just expressed my disappointment in spending a year and not having the system up and running.
Okay, thank
Just
you.
wanted to clarify that.
So we had a motion to adjourn. Just,